Hello there, my name is Dami Oguntunde, the CEO and co-founder at Harde Business School. So a couple of weeks ago, I wrote an article on why we're still here, how we have survived about 5 to 6 years of building a viable solution within the EdTech industry here in Nigeria. And that particular article developed and generated quite a lot of engagement. And so we thought, how about we do a more elaborate version of that same thought, and make it available for as many people as possible. Now, one of the things that I was sharing in that particular article was the foundational challenges that EdTech organizations have within the ecosystem here in Nigeria, and honestly, by extension, in Africa. And I broke them down into 4 critical issues. And of course, we're going to go over the specific things that EdTech solutions can leverage from the things that we have learned in our 6 years of building a viable solution, that they could also leverage to do that. Because EdTech solutions are not just a nice to have, it's an absolute essential. I provided a bit of context to the nature of the need that we have, especially within the Nigerian context. Considering the number of people that we push into the quote unquote potential candidates for university education in this country. That is, for example, over 2 million people write JAMB every single year, with only about 30% of them able to be admitted into the universities, colleges of education, and polytechnics all combined. Now, the reason we have that is because of the very limited seating capacity of all of these institutions combined. So that means, going by the very large population of young individuals we have in this country, if we're creating a university that has a seating capacity of about 20,000 people every single month, it will take us 40 years of creating universities of that particular size and capacity every month for 40 years to be able to effectively address that potential gap in the market. So that means EdTech is here to stay. We need EdTech solutions that can begin to absorb this very nagging, or address this very nagging problem of so many people leaving secondary schools but not able to gain entrance into qualitative tertiary institutions, or worse still, those that are leaving universities are not gainfully employed because they lack the employability skills to attract and compete globally. So these are some of the issues that we discovered. Number one, we saw that the VCs had this scale-first growth appeal. That is, the VCs and venture capitalists, angel investors and PE firms that were thinking about EdTech, the few of them that were thinking about EdTech and not FinTech, which is the more, exciting option for many of them. The few of them that were thinking about EdTech had this scale-first growth appeal. That is, and this has probably generated a type of situation where EdTech organizations, EdTech firms, feel the pressure and the need to inflate numbers, to create strategies and create products that will hopefully inflate their numbers so that they can provide proof of scale to these VCs and justify whatever ask that they might be having of the VCs. And I think this has created a snowball effect of other types of issues. Next on the line would probably be freemium illusion, where we feel like if we can create enough freemium products, enough courses for a lot of people to come and enjoy for free, then the more we're going to create scale. And whilst that might be true, that you are likely going to create a lot more scale when you create free products, chances are that you're not going to create the level of sustainability required to sustain that level of revenue generation. And so that, like I said, was probably induced by the VC scale first growth appeal that VCs typically have. They're not likely going to talk to you until you have thousands of learners on your platform and you're gaining some type of traction on your platform and you have an LMS and all of those things. And because an EdTech needs a VC to fund its operations, then they need to create freemium courses that can attract as many free users as possible and give an illusion of traction so that they can provide to these VCs. But there's also another challenge embedded in that. So for example, I've mentioned the VC scale first growth appeal. I've also talked about the freemium illusion. This also leads to the affordability paradox, where For example, you are offering free courses, and because you're offering free courses, only people who cannot afford to pay for courses will find those free courses attractive. Now, by the time they get into your platform and you begin to balloon your figures, 10,000 learners in 10 months, 20,000 learners in 20 months, 50,000 learners in 2 years. And whilst that sounds very attractive, when you whittle down and you get into the data of the platform and you begin to ask critical questions, exactly where is the money? Then you realize that entire strategy, as fantastic as it sounded initially, they looked more like vanity metrics than any sustainable type of metric that can produce sustainable resources for the business. Because no business can continue to go on forever on grants and handouts and support from institutions that are philanthropic in their outlooks. And so these three challenges were found to be quote unquote endemic within the EdTech ecosystem, because the EdTech space is naturally a charitable cause, especially when you look at it within the context of Nigeria, because there is a lot of work required that does not initially begin to compensate you for your effort. And so there's a lot of need for a lot of patient capital, which leads me to the fourth challenge that we find in the space. There's a lot of impatient capital put in a patient sector. The educational sector is a very patient sector. I mean, look at our education, for example. It takes a while for a child to go through the educational system and begin to justify the investment of that educational, exposure that it has had. And so investors come into the EdTech space, unlike the fintech where the cycle for recovery is pretty quick. The EdTech space has quite a different vibe to its ecosystem. It's a patient sector. You don't expect to put some money in there and then within the next 2 years, 3 years, you are recovering all of that money, because the people you just educated are yet to even finish the educational cycle to get jobs and then perhaps begin to pay back the system that has empowered it. And so there is a lot of need for patient capital in the system. If you're going to be investing in EdTech space, then you need to at least invest with the outlook that the space requires. And that is why, Harde Business School, among a few other EdTech startups in Africa, we're very lucky to be chosen and selected to be part of the Mastercard Foundation Accelerator Program for EdTech, startups that happened a couple of years ago. It had started a year before then, so it started, I think, in 2023, and then we were selected for the second cohort in 2024. And that intervention, the equity-free grant, and the several interventions with respect to quality support and guidance, with respect to learning science, with respect to distribution, with respect to operational management, hiring processes and systems, all of those things really help stabilize Harde Business School. But not many EdTech organizations or startups have that privilege. And so there is a need for us to re-evaluate the way the EdTech ecosystem in Nigeria is set up in a way that almost sets these startups up for failure, because we now see a lot of EdTech startups packing up, not because the startup founders were not smart enough, not because they didn't have the right mindset, the right intelligence, or the right networks to generate value, but perhaps because of the nature of the ecosystem, where there is such pressure for results to be generated in an environment where education is not even prioritized by the average person in the country. I mean, you're all familiar with the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and if you're yet to really eat, you're yet to have clothes on your back, you're yet to have a roof over your head, you clearly are not thinking about executive education, and you're not thinking about professional development. And if at all you're offered one, it had better be free, because you don't have the money to pay for it. And so this is the quote unquote the climate that we find ourselves as EdTech founders, in a very harsh economic climate. And that's why it's important that we push this kind of thoughts out there, because I'm certain there are some philanthropic institutions, foundations that are thinking about how to stimulate the educational landscape here in Africa, and of course promote industrialization, promote education, promote innovation, promote the startup culture to become even much stronger, because education sits at the very foundation of what it takes to actually re-engineer the economic transformation of any nation. So in the next video, I'll be sharing with you some of the principles that we leveraged at Harde Business School and that has worked for us in the last 5 years of building a viable product that has been used by over 45,000 people and still continues to deliver value across the entire value chain of career professionals, from entry level to mid-level to senior level executives. All right, once again, let's summarize what we have learned today from what I shared about the foundational challenges that we find in the EdTech space, especially in Nigeria. Number one, it's the VC scale-first growth appeal, where VCs need organizations, startups, to provide proof of scale before they justify their investment decision. Number two, the freemium illusion, where startups feel the need to make everything free so that they can have as much traction, so that they can justify the investment decisions that the VCs want to make over them. There's the affordability paradox, where the people that you are selling to clearly cannot afford what you are selling, so you have to make it free. And whilst you're doing that, you can't continue to sustain your business. You can't keep the lights on because you need revenue, you need profits to continue to stay in business. And so the moment you put a price on it, the people that need it the most cannot afford it. Do you see? So there's that paradox where the people that need the course the most can really not afford to pay for it, because if they could pay for it, they wouldn't need it. So it's that paradox where the people you're offering those courses, you can't afford to bill them because they clearly don't have the disposable income to pay for it, because if they could pay for it, then they would not need it. And so we're going to be aligning this particular principle in the second video, where we'll talk about what it means to attract the right type of target audience when you create a product, especially within the EdTech ecosystem. Then finally, the impatient capital in the patient sector, where you're putting money into the EdTech space and you expect fintech results within the next couple of years because you expect your ROI. And whilst it's not wrong to have those kinds of expectations, it is important to adapt the outlook of the investors and the investment portfolios within the EdTech space to adapt to what's possible and what's realistic within the EdTech space. EdTech is not fintech. EdTech is not any other type of tech space. It's somewhere where the capital has to be patient. The capital has to be adaptive to the needs of the ecosystem. And that's also not to, cut founders slack and say, take all the time in the world to create value and to break even. Not necessarily. And that's why there has to be that good balance between the outlook of the investors and the nature of the startups that they're investing into, to ensure that there's a good match between those two profiles, the investors and the startups. I hope you find this useful. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.